top VR racing games in 2022. Within a large number of video game genres around the globe, racing games have been there since the beginning. Hundreds of video games of the racing genre have been released year after year and evolved along with technology and gaming platforms. Both the gameplay and the graphics have followed a revolutionary path. And now, we are in the stage of virtual reality. This new stage of racing games is critical because it is a perfect opportunity to introduce new mechanics in VR games, in addition to creating a VR world full of new opportunities that can bring the player realistic simulation. Thus it's possible thanks to the technology of the VR headsets like the Valve Index, Oculus Quest, Meta Quest, and HTC Vive, which provide an immersive and fun experience. The development of the most famous racing titles has also gone hand in hand with the evolution of the cars themselves, creating memorable content that has accompanied gaming enthusiasts for over 40 years. Right now, VR racing games are at their best, which is why we bring you this list of the top VR racing games in 2022. Number 1. Gran Turismo Sport. Developed by Polyphony Digital and available for PlayStation VR, this installment of Gran Turismo is at the top of the list of the best racing games because it takes on a very important aspect. Gran Turismo Sport is a racing simulator, and one of its main features is its graphics section. In it, the multiplayer modes are sacrificed to focus on the player's complete VR experience. It has 3 main modes, in which one of which is a 1 versus 1 race, a time trial, and a VR gallery. In Gran Turismo Sport, the level of immersion is one of the most impressive on the market. In the VR Tour mode, the experience is without a doubt astonishing. The lighting, textures, stunning visuals, and the responsive section of the vehicle are impressive. Gran Turismo Sport is one of the VR racing games that have impacted the market the most, and with the increase in the use of the VR headset in recent years, it will have an increasing number of players. Some gaming enthusiasts would even call it the quintessential racing game, a legendary entry. This is not only for what it brings to the industry as a racing simulator but also for its contribution to the PlayStation VR and its long career on the platform of more than 20 years. Gran Turismo does an excellent job of bringing the atmosphere of racing games into a top-tier simulation. By including weather conditions that affect reflections and visibility in such dynamic ways, they make racing feel like something to test your skills in different ways, making Gran Turismo Sport one of the best VR racing games. The best way to enjoy it is with a VR rig with virtual reality or mixed reality. Definitely worth it, and it's absolutely a pleasant driving simulator. Number 2. Assetto Corsa. The list of the best racing games continues with Assetto Corsa by Cuno's Simulazione, another amazing VR racing game. In this game, you can immerse yourself with the help of a VR headset in the cockpit of a GT3, experiencing all the sound, graphics, and adrenaline of racing in the realistic simulation that VR games can offer. Assetto Corsa strives to keep the design of the cars faithful to the real cars, including interior details. Game modes are undoubtedly a great attraction for VR racing games. being able to choose between special events, races, drives, and championships. The graphics section of Assetto Corsa decides to avoid details in the scenarios to have races with a more significant number of competitors. In addition, it can carry out online races, which makes the multiplayer mode quite attractive. In Assetto Corsa, the player can adjust the realism settings, which combined with a VR headset setting like Oculus Quest or Meta Quest, helps you gain skill little by little and avoid motion sickness. One of the features is that players can adjust their car through a settings interface. This interface allows you to change settings like gear ratios, tire compounds, tire pressures, fuel, suspension, wheel speeds, ride height, and many more. Assetto Corsa undoubtedly commits to simulation quality. Virtual reality is a gaming promise that they take very seriously as any other game. You can use VR headsets like Valve Index, Oculus Quest, or HTC Vive. Number 3. Project Cars 2. The last of the first 3 best racing games, it's Project Cars 2, developed by Slightly Mad Studios. The racing experience takes you to various tracks, with many cars to race against, which makes the simulation more eye-catching. When the race starts, you can see how the cars start to move, and the game's depth of field allows for a higher level of precision when driving. The graphics draw distance is good but not great, allowing for more cars to race against. Having a multiplayer mode, Project Cars 2 allows you to create simulation experiences that go beyond the VR headset, since a clear difference between the races is the AI, which cannot fully simulate a scenario with real competitors. In the VR racing game genre, another vital point is the accessories to generate the most realistic VR experience possible, so the compatibility and use of a steering wheel is a fantastic addition. In Project Cars 2, the tracks are varied and maintain a good level of playability. Racing games depend a lot on the tracks in order to create an experience that is pleasant and fun. Having a track that is a challenge for your skills in each of the races, it's fundamental. In Project Cars 2, the developer Slightly Mad Studios promised to keep these tracks challenging enough to keep you coming back again and again. Number 4.
Peggy 3.
Project Cars 3. This racing video game, also developed by Slightly Mad Studios, seeks to maintain the essence of the previous game. Project Cars 3 introduces new cars and driving tracks to its formula.
What drives you?
The essential sections are still in the game, such as a large number of tracks, with a total of more than 140 global circuits.
Your dreams.
Project Cars 3 also features 24-hour cycles, seasons, and weather effects that provide the variety required to create more mixed and demanding races. In Project Cars 3, the AI of the game has been improved to create a higher level of difficulty and challenges.
That perfect fusion of skill.
It has a multiplayer section that brings more options to the game. The ability to compete with other players is always well received in the racing genre, and even more so in racing simulation. Something that this sequel hasn't kept and that costs it a place on this list is the fact that, unlike its predecessors, this game doesn't feature options that made the last game a racing sim favorite, options such as tire wear or fuel exhaustion. Number 5. Dirt Rally 2.0. Dirt Rally 2.0 was developed and published by Codemasters for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. It is a successor to the 2015 Dirt Rally video game and emphasizes realistic driving physics. Dirt Rally 2.0 is a game focused on rallying and rallycross. Players compete in the time trial and off-road events in a myriad of weather conditions. The tracks have different locations, which gives them a lot of variety, in addition to those presented in the DLC. It is also important to mention the presence of the Rallycross mode with World Rallycross Supercars, and the 8 circuits of the FIA World Rallycross Championship. Dirt Rally 2.0 allows players to choose from a total of 50 rally cars, including several historic cars, from the 1960s to the latest. Also, the game includes the new weather modeling system where the changes affect the level of experience the player requires to complete the races. Weather also visually affects races, as well as tire grip. Damage sustained during races carries over from race to race, repairs can be made, and new components can also be tested, as well as other features that demand the best of the player. One thing that should be taken into account is to test the different parameters to protect ourselves from motion sickness and enjoy the game. Number 6. AutoMobilista 2. AutoMobilista 2 is a racing simulation game created by Raceroom Studios. This racing game seeks to provide the experience of a comprehensive simulation of the Brazilian motorsports scene, featuring the main Brazilian racing series, racetracks, and manufacturers. By having more cars and tracks than its predecessor, AutoMobilista 2 seeks to generate the interest of VR users or the so-called sim racers. It makes this with prestigious brands as well as iconic places such as Brands Hatch, Mount Panorama, and Imola. AutoMobilista 2 also has a technical partnership with the developers of the award-winning Project Cars series, which is based on the Madness physics engine, which provides good graphic quality, as well as dynamic weather and track conditions systems for a more enjoyable experience, advanced racing simulation, and virtual reality support. AutoMobilista 2 has a multiplayer rating system, official events, tools for custom modes, and a racing mode. It offers a catalog of varied locations, and cars of the most recognized and historic brands, mixed with an advanced simulation experience that takes into account less powerful systems. The game makes frequent updates that create one of the best VR world experiences in the racing sim genre. Number 7. World. World is a rapid-pace, combat-focused multiplayer virtual reality kart racing game that competes directly against Mario Kart. World creates the same experience in a new environment and brings a breath of fresh air to the kart genre. In it, like most games, you can customize the color of your car and start accelerating around a wide selection of tracks full of obstacles and hidden shortcuts. In this VR world with arcade-style gameplay, combat is the order of the day. You can use 1 or 2 weapons at the same time. It is also compatible with the steering wheel, which increases the immersion factor with force feedback, helping to maximize the VR racing experience. Despite support for a simulation experience, World doesn't give up on casual gameplay, so it features a rest option that simplifies controls, plus it's a great way to play in tight spaces. The developer Motions Studio took a social approach at Dash World, allowing an 8-player online matchmaking experience, in which you can express yourself and be yourself during the races by sending personalized emoticons and using the personalized sound of your kart car. You can even taunt your opponents at the finish line. Unlike other racing games, you can customize both your driver as well as the car, a virtual avatar that expresses your personality and your achievements during the events that are offered. Number 8. Raceroom Racing Experience. Raceroom Racing Experience is a free-to-play racing simulator. It aims to provide an authentic racing experience by being able to support VR through detailed cars and tracks, as well as realistic car behavior and sounds. This driving experience is supported by an impressive range of racing cars. This includes DTM cars with their downforce and low lines, as well as the high technology of F1, or the WTCC. Raceroom Racing Experience is aimed at racing game fans whose adventure starts with 5 cars and 2 free tracks right after registration. You can start to customize your experience with new cars, tracks, and official championships in the online store. The game is constantly being developed and updated, adding and polishing its game modes, features, and content. The content of the game is not only limited to that generated by the development studio but also has a vibrant modding community that offers content that can increase the level of customization for each player. A good option to start in the world of VR racing games. Number 9.
is a sim racing game that combines a
iRacing.
true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from
iRacing
all around
offers
the
its
globe.
VR racing simulation
iRacing
game
offers
for a
multitude of
subscription
official
system.
licensed cars and tracks, laser scan with
All
millimeter
races and
accuracy.
training sessions are
Their
hosted
car
on
models and
servers,
mechanical
which
systems
give you
are based
access
on
to
real-world
competitive
physics,
motorsports over the
engineered in
internet.
cooperation with manufacturers and racing.
These so-called internet races are an
still licensed
alternative way for racing
ranges from
fans,
rookie to
sim
pro,
racers,
ensuring
and
members are
casual
always pitted
gamers.
against those with similar skill sets.
All of them can enjoy the
Members are
thrill
able
and
to sign up for a
experience of
weekly race
simulations
series,
from NASCAR
compete
to
in time
IndyCar.
trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community.
iRacing
With over
strives to have
170,000
everything you
members,
need for the sim
iRacing
racing
works in
experience.
partnership with renowned motorsports organizations
This
like
game model
NASCAR
allows connecting to the
deliver virtual
computer,
races
a game wheel,
based on
or
the
a
real-life
racing
NASCAR Cup
simulation
Series,
controller.
as well as many other series on the NASCAR
After
ladder.
accessing iRacing organizes
also
a list of
features
more
team
than
races,
150
providing a
cars and
variety of
tracks,
options for
as
members
well
to
as
create
official
and
or
manage their
custom
own team.
series.
Race with friends or real-world
The
teammates
system
in
also allows
full-length
its
endurance
players
events
to
like
organize
the
and join
24 Hours of
private
Daytona,
leagues.
Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA,
iRacing is an exciting online
Supercars,
experience,
and IndyCar,
thanks to its
allowing
agreements with
members to race in
important
their
brands
very
in the
own
automobile
Indianapolis
sector
500,
such as the
Bathurst
aforementioned
1000,
NASCAR,
Chili
in
Bowl,
addition to having
and many more
important
iconic
racing
events.
circuits, among
This
which the
is
Indianapolis
iRacing,
Motor
delivering the
Speedway
most
Ville,
authentic racing
Red Bull
experience
Ring,
short of
and
getting into a
Nashville
real
Super
race car.
Speedway, among
Sign up
others.
today at iRacing.com.
Live for Speed is an online driving simulator able to support VR and developed by Scoyen Roberts, Eric Bailey, and Victor van Vlaardingen. They are the minds behind this simulator since they are the only ones working on its development. The main goal is to provide a realistic driving experience. For this, it has its online multiplayer mode and a single-player mode against AI-guided vehicles.
Forest Hill.
One of the points in which it differs from other racing games is that since it does not have many alliances with official brands, most of the cars are not real cars, except for a few. But this VR game has a varied selection of cars available through the purchase of DLCs. The available options are various. You can change aspects of the car such as the suspension, the colors, the brakes, the racing wheel, and even the tires. In addition to the changes that can be made to the Live for Speed cars, the feedback from the settings that are modified in the vehicles directly impacts the driving sensation, even more so if you have a VR rig, because in this type of accessory the races unfold with quite an impressive experience. Number 11. Need for Speed, No Limits VR. Need for Speed No Limits VR, from the famous street racing franchise, now has an experience in a VR game. This environment is dynamic and focused on the urban environment. The cars and tracks are colorful and modern in design. Electronic Arts bring the clandestine VR racing experience to mobile devices. It can be used along with the HTC Vive VR headset, with more than 50 different tests on 12 tracks. The setting has 4 realistic environments, with a well-cared soundtrack, sounds, and visual effects that want to take full advantage of the latest technology. Like many other games that have been mentioned before, Need for Speed No Limits VR has a customizable VR gaming experience, including car customization sections, traffic control, and a large number of cars from BMW to Lamborghini. The game mode allows you to face the gangs of drivers in competitions full of speed, adrenaline, and aggressive driving that sparks in each race. Number 12. rFactor. rFactor is a racing simulator created by Image Space Incorporated, a company that has been creating racing simulators since the early 1990s. Its G-Motor 2 graphics engine is based on its previous title released by EA Sports F1 Challenge 99-02. It offers car and track customization features, good graphics, and a multiplayer experience. The mix of features it offers, such as mixed tracks and the focus on immersive sound, makes the setting of this racing game one of its main attractions. Focused on generating an experience of speed and adrenaline in the players, it allows multiplayer options or against AI. Another feature is to allow day and night cycles for resistance events that can last up to 24 hours with a player exchange to keep the race going. rFactor can be customized by the modeling community, including new tracks, cars, and a host of other features. All this is due to the support that rFactor gives to the modeling community by maintaining an open architecture, one of its strengths.